Hi, my name is Jeff Kowalski, and I'm here today with you because somebody cared enough about you and your health to share this information with you. What I'm going to share with you today hopefully will change your life. How many of you have eaten at a McDonald's restaurant? Well, I don't eat at McDonald's restaurants, but almost 9 years ago, I went to McDonald's and I bought a hamburger. I was told that the hamburgers don't rot, don't mold, don't smell, and that they'll last almost indefinitely, and I didn't believe it. So I went there, and again, 9 years ago, I bought this Big Mac. You can see the bun looks just like it did 9 years ago. The hamburger still looks like the hamburger. I mean, totally amazing that this meat didn't rot or smell. The bun never molded. It still looks like the day I bought it almost 9 years ago. So you need to be careful of what you put in your bodies. It's actually about 6 years ago that I was introduced to the Chi machine. And when I was first introduced to it, I wouldn't have anything to do with it. I said, I'm not interested. I'm already into health. I do diet, I do exercise, I do nutrition, I do cleansing, but I do not do machines. And the gal said, would you at least listen to a tape? So she gave me a tape called The Chi Machine and Its Amazing Results. I listened to this tape, and after I finished listening to this tape, I said, if half this stuff on this ridiculous tape is true, I better try the Chi machine. So I tried the Chi machine, and the first time I used it, I have to admit, I was not that impressed. I wiggled, I tingled, I relaxed, but being already pretty healthy, I thought, what do I need that machine for? So the person that had the machine was a gentleman, and I said to him, I said, you really think it's that good? He said, yes. And I said, well, if you think it's that good, could I borrow it for a few days? He said, sure, go ahead. So I took it home. I have to admit, the third session on that Chi machine, the muscles in my neck and my back started to release. Now that doesn't mean much to you, but 6 years previous to this, I had 2 car accidents. Every 4 to 5 weeks, my muscles would tighten up, my bones would pop out of place, I'd get a severe headache, I'd go see my chiropractor and he'd fix me. This has been going on for 6 years. So after that release of tension, I thought, it couldn't be the Chi machine. And again, I didn't want the Chi machine to work. 7 days later, my allergies improved. And I thought, how could that Chi machine help my allergies? I'm just wiggling like a fish. How could that help? Well, my allergies got better, and then I took my 6-year-old daughter at the time. She has allergies, and in 3 days, her allergies got better. Then I went out of town on business, and I came back about a week later. The first thing my daughter said to me, she says, Daddy, when you were gone, my allergies were good for 1 day, now they're bad again. Can I go back in the machine? I put her back in the machine, in a day and a half, they were better. That's when I got excited about the possibilities of what this machine could do for other people. I started reading information. I started inviting people over to my house to try the Chi machine. The first 30 days, our house looked like a revolving door. And we had people coming and going because I was already in the health business. And what happened was we moved 66 Chi machines our first 30 days in the business. The next 30 days, we moved 120 more. This is almost 6 years later, and our organization is moving anywhere from 300 to 400 machines upwards or more than that per month. Now, I don't say it to brag in any way. I say that to show you that these machines work, and they work through sharing with other people. So the first thing I like to do is explain what the machine actually does. It increases oxygen, increases energy, and increases circulation. Every time I've shown that to a chiropractor or a massage therapist, they say, Jeff, prove to me it increases the oxygen, the energy, and the circulation. So the first thing I want to show you is what we call a Kirlian photography picture. This is a picture that shows actually a doctor of chiropractor. He took a picture of himself, and it shows the energy coming off of his body. It shows the energy centers inside the body. This is before the Chi machine, then 10 minutes on a Chi machine, then 15 minutes on a Chi machine, then 20 minutes on a Chi machine. And what happened was you can actually see the colors go from yellows and greens to the reds, blues, and purples. Those are the healing colors that start to come out of people. You can also see the center dots in here. There's 7 of them inside the body. Those went from being teeny to being about 10 times larger. Now, for those that have never heard of Kirlian photography is similar to if you've ever seen a spy movie where you're watching TV and there's a house and then there's a picture and there's a little heat image of a person walking from room to room, a little red image. That's the same technology, except this is more fine-tuned. So that proves that the energy goes up in the body. The second thing is the circulation. And a nurse friend of ours took a oximeter finger probe, and that's what they use in hospitals. They put them on fingers, and they test the oxygen level inside the human body. And she took that, and what happened was she tested 29 volunteers, ages 21 to 68. And basically, she tests them before the Chi machine, put them on the Chi machine, and test them again 5 minutes after the Chi machine, and the oxygen level had gone up between 1 and 7%. Now that maybe doesn't sound like a lot to you, but it's actually very dramatic. I have a friend who's a paramedic, and when he puts a mask on people with actual oxygen, he said if he gets a 2% increase of oxygen, he's doing good. Also, there's 6 major benefits that occur with the Chi machine. Cellular activation, spinal balancing, improving the immune system, blood production, balance of the autonomic nervous system, and exercise in internal organs. Using the Chi machine every day is like getting a total body massage. Dr. Inoue was the inventor of the Chi machine. He was the chairman of Japan's Oxygen Health Association. He spent 38 years of research. He put over 100,000 patients on the Chi machine before bringing it to the market in Japan. He studied fish, and he proved that you could take a human being and move them like a fish and increase their oxygen concentration. What happened was a gentleman had passed out at a railway station, and he was turning blue. Dr. Inoue got down on his hands and knees and grabbed him by his ankles and started swinging him back and forth and back and forth. After 20 minutes, the color started coming back to his face, and he actually revived this guy. He then knew his theory had some validity. He got together with a German engineer, and that's when they spent all that time researching and putting people on the machine to get the exact right speed, the right figure 8 movement, the right height, compatible for both men and women ages 3 to 103. Also, I was personally able to experience that technology when I was fishing in Mille Lacs Lake. I had caught a huge walleye from down deep, and I reeled him up, and unfortunately I wasn't able to keep him because we have slot limits that don't allow us to keep certain fish, so I had to throw him back. I mean, I'd love to keep him, but the law said he was the wrong size, so I let him go, and he was laying there upside down in the water. The friend of mine that was with me knew enough to quickly net him, bring him back to the boat, and he turned him over, and he took him by his tail, and he wiggled him for about 5 minutes, creating that fish-like motion on the fish, and after 5 minutes, he let him go, and that thing just took off. He basically revived him. So that's what the Chi machine does. It brings life back into your body. I'd also like to share a study that was done on lymphedema. This was done in Australia. It was a clinical study that was done, and they had patients that had swelling of the legs, which is lymphedema, very, very bad because of surgery that they had and cancer treatment. And they tested them. They put them on a Chi machine for 10 minutes twice a day, and after a 3-week period, the lymphedema had reduced in size dramatically, and their quality of life had gone up. Everything seemed to be much better for them. And then they took them off the study, and they tested them again 8 weeks later, and after 8 weeks of not using the Chi machine, it was still, the lymphedema increased, but it did not go back to how it was originally before they started. So there's actually a residual effect of using the Chi machine with the lymphedema study. Now I'd like to share with you another book that's called The Unmedical Miracle Oxygen. In here, they talk about the importance of oxygen. You can go without food for about a month. You can go without water for about a week. You can go without oxygen for about 4 minutes, and it's all over. So oxygen is the most important nutrient on Earth. And in here, they talk about that. It says in here on page 24, remember, oxygen is our most vital nutrient. A skimpy supply of it can cause the first weak spot of the body to become vulnerable to disease. Remember, disease proliferates where cells receive insufficient oxygen. Disease cells like cancer, MS, diabetes, psoriasis, Parkinson's, AIDS, heart disease, emphysema, those are all anaerobic cells. That means they thrive where there's little or no oxygen. Then on page 33, recently medical scientists in a number of countries have found that cells of all degenerative diseases thus far researched are anaerobic, without oxygen. And again, in other words, degenerative disease cells proliferate only where cells get little or no oxygen. Healthy cells live and thrive as long as adequate oxygen and good nutrition are supplied to them. Reduce that supply and the cells become puny, as one able researcher termed it. They change, they are distorted, they themselves degenerate, and those around them do the same. And then Otto Warburg says this. He won the Nobel Prize when he proved where cells get enough oxygen, cancer cannot occur. So now I hope you're getting the idea of how important increased oxygen is to you. And again, we've proven that once you're on the Qi machine, the oxygen level goes up. Many times people have asked me, how does the Qi machine actually increase the oxygen in the body? And it's kind of difficult to explain. It's kind of like, how does your car engine work when you turn the key and you get where you want to go? It's just you turn the key. When you get on the Qi machine, it works. But Dr. Lipton actually explains it rather nicely in this paper called the Health News. And it's just a one paragraph. He says, the Qi machine stimulates the autonomic nervous system, and one of the effects that the bronchioles in the lungs open up, thereby increasing oxygen exchange. Consequently, the circulation has to increase to handle the additional oxygen. So that's the simple way of explaining how the Qi machine actually increases the oxygen in the body. And if you're low on oxygen, you're probably, well, the lower you are, the more unhealthy you are. The higher you are, the better you are. In fact, the guy that wrote the book, Chicken Soup for the Soul, Jack Canfield, just listened to one of his tapes last week, and he had said they did some studies, and they found that cells that are highly oxygenated don't die. Now, I don't know if the Qi machine is going to prolong your life, but I'm using it every day to make sure I have adequate oxygen going into my system. I'd like to share a couple of testimonies with you. This machine is so powerful that people have called me up and said, Jeff, you're not going to believe what this thing did for us. And I said, you know what? Most people will not believe it unless you send me a letter in writing and sign it, and then I can show that to people. So the first one is Marie Haley from Foley, Minnesota. And this was back in the year 2000. It says, in October of 1999, I had a severe stroke. It affected my entire left side. When I was released from the hospital, I had very swollen ankles caused by bad circulation and the medication I was on for high blood pressure. I also lost the use of my left arm. I had physical therapy for the arm, but it didn't help very much. It was at this time that my daughter introduced me to the Qi machine. I started using it immediately, 2 times a day for 5 minutes each time. I worked up to 15 minutes morning and evening. I did not notice anything for 3 weeks, and then one morning I noticed my ankles were totally normal. My left arm continues to improve each week. I have about 95% use of it now. I have had my Qi machine for 5 months now, and my swollen ankles have not returned. I can finally say that I feel tingling in my left arm and hand. It took 5 months, but the circulation is good. 2 other things I noticed is that I sleep very well at night, and I lost 2 inches on my waist. I thank God for my speedy recovery, and I thank my daughter, Patty Scott, for bringing the Qi machine into my life. Also, what she doesn't mention here is she told me her doctor told her she would die with swollen ankles. It took 5 months, but the swollen ankles went away. By the way, I gave this testimony to somebody about 6 months ago, and there is not a phone number on here, and they called me back and said, Jeff, I called up Marie Haley. I said, how'd you call up Marie Haley? She goes, well, we happen to know Marie Haley from about 6 years ago, and we wanted to make sure that your testimony you had was real. And I said, well, what did she say? And they found out that the testimony now, today, is better than it was back then because she now has 100% use for arm back. So the Qi machine continues to work years and years and years later. Also, this is called Flood Your Body with Oxygen by Ed McCabe. Ed McCabe actually got thrown in jail for, well, they said it was tax fraud, but really it was because he was helping too many people with oxygen therapies. He was actually getting rid of diseases. Anyway, after he got out of jail, he wrote his second book called Flood Your Body with Oxygen, and he was so impressed with our Qi machine in our hothouse that he put both machines in this book on page 408, actually I think it's 407 and 408. He's got a picture of the Qi machine in here, and on 408, he's got a picture of the hothouse in here, and he talks about how beneficial they are to increase the oxygen and to repair the body. In fact, I should probably just read this. It says on the hothouse, it says the company sells a semi-solid, state-of-the-art, 1/3 circular far-infrared light emitter called the Fur Hothouse. We lent ours to a friend's husband who had lung cancer. They called to say that by his lying under it, his pain completely stopped the first day. Far infrared rays are not stopped by the atmosphere and penetrate the body and increase blood and lymph flow and therefore the oxygen flow. So anyway, again, awesome book that's got tons of information about oxygen therapies in there. Another gal called me up. She was from Huntington, Indiana, and her name is Drury Jones, and she told me her story. I was so impressed that, again, I said, please, please send me a copy. This one's kind of lengthy, but it kind of is going to hit a lot of people in the right area because she had so many different problems. You may know of somebody that's got one of these problems, and you may be able to help them with our machines. She says, our massage therapist brought a Chi machine to our home one Wednesday evening, saying she'd pick it up the following Friday evening. I have fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue syndrome. For some time, my feet and legs from mid-calf down have been numb. I had given up driving. I acquired both an electric and conventional wheelchairs. There were times I could not walk the length of our living room without sitting down or without the assistance of crutches. Along with this, I had a great deal of pain in my legs and feet. I always seemed stiff and sore. Often I had great difficulty just getting laid down on the bed because of spasms in my back. For the past several years, except when out of the house, I had used an oxygen concentrator around the clock to lessen my pain. Because of this habit, I did not remove the oxygen when I began using the Chi. I began by using the Chi about 2 or 3 minutes at a time, but quickly advanced to 5 and 10 minutes. Soon I was using the machine 1/2 an hour at a time, 3 times a day. I was told this was too much, so I shortened the time. As I did this, I felt my legs backing off too, so I boosted the time back up. I feel by using extra oxygen, in addition to the Chi, I was giving myself a double whammy. By now I have settled down to a routine of 10 to 15 minutes, 2 to 3 times a day. I adjust the time according to what my body requests. After using the Chi 3 days, the feeling was returning to my legs. At this time, the 2 small toes on each foot are still a bit tingly. I have learned how to walk again. Yes, I had forgotten how to walk properly and had to retrain myself. I have noticed many other benefits: loss of pain, sleeping better, varicose veins disappearing, more mobility and energy, no muscle spasms, loss of weight, just plain feeling better, etc., etc. Shortly after getting the Chi machine, we were to leave on vacation. After using the Chi machine a few days, I thought we could leave the electric chair home but would take the conventional chair. But when we left home, we took only crutches and oxygen concentrator. We were gone 3 weeks and had a wonderful time. Neither crutches or concentrator were taken out of the van, nor have I resumed use of them. I joined my cousin walking entirely around the Mall of America without assistance. I was tired, but I made it. I did not mention that when the therapist returned for the Chi machine on Friday, we did not let her have it. We purchased the machine. We received the Chi machine on June 20th, 2001. It is now January 21st, 2002, Drury Jones. And she gives her name and phone number. She also puts in parentheses, I have lost 40 pounds in 5 months without changing my diet. When I met her, it was 6 months, and she was up to 45 pounds that she had lost. I said to her, I said, imagine if you had changed your diet. She said, Jeff, I don't want to change my diet. Now, we've had many people report weight loss, pain disappearing, more energy, better circulation. Diabetics, it's an absolute godsend, the diabetics. They have bad circulation and their sores don't usually heal. I'll explain more about what happened when we worked with a diabetic when I talk about the hothouse. Also, Dr. Lipton has written a book called The Collection, Medical Case Histories, the Chi Machine in the Hothouse, Far Infrared Dome. And there's phenomenal testimonies in here. I'll give you an example. Asthma, arthritis, back pain, cancer, depression, diabetes, energy, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, headaches, insomnia. We found that if our kids get a headache, they immediately go on the Chi machine and I put the hothouse over their face. Within about 15 minutes, 90% of the time that headache's gone. The last one I want to share here is Peggy Sebring. Many of you may know people with multiple sclerosis. Peggy Sebring had multiple sclerosis. It says, 6 years ago, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis by Dr. Schumer at Vanderbilt Hospital in Nashville, Tennessee. I've tried all the medications for MS, and I had severe reactions to all of them. I'm using magnets, vitamins, raw fruit and vegetables, and vegetable juice with some success. For the last 2.5 years, I had a headache and a swishing sound in my ears. This was 24 hours a day. My neurologist told me that it was caused by the myelin being eaten away from the nerve. He said nothing could be done. How many times have you or a loved one gone to see a doctor and they said nothing can be done? You're just going to have to live with it or bear it. It says, but just after 2 days in the Qi machine, my headache was gone and the swishing sound in my ears was totally gone too. I was taking sleeping pills and pain pills nightly, but still waking 3 to 4 times. After using the Qi machine for 3 weeks, I'm sleeping the entire night without sleeping pills and having very little pain. I very seldom take pain medication now. My energy level is much higher and my day is longer. The optic nerve in my right eye has been damaged from the MS, but with the Qi machine my sight is slowly returning. I thank God that Kathy Kubit introduced me to the Qi machine. It has given me a much better quality of life. Thank you, Kathy. Peggy Sebring. Now I'm telling you, these testimonies mean more to me than all the money we've been making moving these machines, because they make a difference in people. So again, I ask you, how many people do you know have some of these problems that could benefit from these machines? This is the Canadian brochure. It comes from the company, and in here are a lot of good information on the Qi machine. Now, one thing I want to read to you is the precautions on the Qi machine. The precautions from the company state, the massager should not be used under the following conditions: immediately following an operation, or if suffering from bone fracture, within 3 months after an operation, if suffering from serious infection or bleeding injury or serious heart disease, during pregnancy, and within 30 minutes after eating a meal. It also says if extreme pain occurs during the massage, such pain should be investigated and rectified before further use of the unit. Now I want to mention though, they talk about surgery. And again, if you've had surgery, it just makes sense to not use the Qi machine until that surgery is healed, because it increases the circulation, and if it hasn't healed, it could be dangerous. Now, we've had people that have actually used the Qi machine and it's been less than 3 months because the surgery healed in a much more shorter period of time than the 3 months. Also, it says during pregnancy. Now, I've heard of some women actually using it during pregnancy. They were using it before pregnancy and they continued to use it while they were pregnant, but that was their choice. Other women choose to not use it during pregnancy. And you can imagine when you're laying there on the Qi machine, as that big belly gets bigger and bigger, it's going to be uncomfortable. So again, that's up to you, and it just makes sense to not use the Qi machine within 30 minutes after eating, because you got to let your food digest a little bit. You can use it just before a meal, but wait about 30 to 40 minutes after a meal. Also, 5 minutes on a Qi machine is equivalent to a 30-minute walk in the amount of oxygen you get. 10 minutes is like an hour, and 15 minutes is like an hour and a half. So we always recommend that anybody that's elderly or sickly, they start off extremely slow at the Qi machine, just a minute or two, or maybe even 30 seconds if they're really feeble. And then as you get healthier and get better, get more oxygen, get more circulation going through the body, get more energy going through, you can start to increase the time. The company actually recommends 5 minutes for the first week, twice a day, 10 minutes the second week, twice a day, and 15 minutes the third week, twice a day. That's the way you can gradually go up. Every time I worked with people and they call me up and say, Jeff, I'm just hurting, my legs are hurting, I don't feel good, they've always went up too quickly. So anytime that happens, we need you to back down, because using it, it's the American way. They figure, well, if little is good, more is better. That's not true. With the Qi machine, in the beginning, less is better. Now, I've also been told, I haven't verified this yet, is that once you work your way up to 20 minutes, if you want to go that high, your body goes into pH balance. And for those of you that know how important the pH balance is with alkaline and acid, it's extremely important. In fact, we've been told that cancer cannot live in an oxygenated environment. Cancer cannot live in a completely balanced, pH balanced environment. So if you can get your pH in balance and get your oxygen levels up, you just got that much better chance of living a healthier life. So again, I tell people, be very careful in the beginning and gradually work your way up. I'd rather have somebody work it through slowly and slowly move up than to go too fast and say, Jeff, this machine doesn't work and I got sick on it. Well, the thing is, it worked too good for them because they did too much too fast. In fact, I had one gal call me up. It was her 3rd day on the Qi machine, and she called me up and she goes, Jeff, I'm in bed. I can't even get out of bed and I hurt all over. I think the Qi machine messed me up. And I said to her, well, how long were you using it? She goes, well, the first day 5 minutes, second day 10, the third day 15. And she was about 60 years old. I said, well, good news and bad news. The good news is you're going to get better. The bad news is it's going to take a day for you to recover. And when you recover, go back to 5 minutes like I told you and stay there for a full week. And she did, and she was fine. So again, just be careful with that. Now we're going to demonstrate the proper use of the Qi machine. If it's not used properly, you're not going to get the maximum benefit. So Pam, if you could come in and join us and demonstrate the Qi machine. So the first thing we have people do is they have to drink their water. So did you already drink your water, Pam?
Yes.
Okay. The second thing is you want to sit down, put your feet all the way to the end of the Qi machine, come a little farther, and then go ahead and lay back. You always have to have the handle facing away from you. And if you have it turned around the other way, it will not work properly. Then lift your legs up and put your legs in the ankle stirrups there. And then there's 3 different positions for the arms. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and start the Qi machine first of all. There's a timer on here. Each dot is 2 minutes. So if a person is elderly or sickly, you only want to start them off with 2 minutes or less. If they're in generally good health, you can start them off with 6 minutes. Now, if you try to start them off with 2 minutes, it will not start until you turn the timer all the way to the star, which is 6 minutes, and then you can turn it back. So we're going to turn over the 6 minutes position here because Pam's in pretty good health and she's been on the Qi machine before. Now, you can see how her ankles are wiggling really nicely, all the way through to her body, all the way through to her head, and she's aligned up straight on the machine. You always want to make sure people are straight on the Qi machine. And then once you get started, there's 3 different positions you can use for your hands. The first one is having your hands out like she's got them there. That position is good for release of tension, mood balancing, insomnia, internal organ discomfort, and constipation. The second position you can use if you want to is to put your hands behind your neck, actually behind your, kind of like, just like that. You don't want to lock them, you want to kind of have them just like this. And that position is good for migraines, headaches, bone spurs, misaligned spine, sore back, gout, and arthritis. The third position is over your head and having them laying back like that. That's good for weight loss, shoulder tendonitis, release muscle tension, release nervous pressure, and full and round breasts. Now that's why I don't like that position. All right, now for starters, I usually have people put their hands back at their side and just relax. And when somebody's on the Qi machine, please do not talk to them. That's their 5 minutes to relax, get the energy flowing, get the oxygen flowing, get the circulation flowing, balancing the spine and everything. And you want to have them actually close their eyes, deep breathe, and just let the machine work them. Now, if somebody happens to have bad knees, knee replacements, or the bowed knees, they may need what we call a knee pillow. And then we just slide a knee pillow underneath them like that. Or for people that have bad backs or back pain, the knee pillow will slow the action down a little bit, but it's going to save the knees and save the back. So we tell people, use a knee pillow if you need it. If you don't need it, it's best to not use one because then it gives a little better motion. So you are going to lose a little bit of movement, but again, we've saved people's backs by using that if they're already prone to having a bad back. Now, after the Qi machine stops, you do not move for 2 minutes, and you time people. Do not talk to them, do not say anything, do not get up. If the phone rings, don't answer the phone. What will happen is 60% of the benefit of the Qi machine occurs after the Qi machine stops. So that's when you should feel one of 4 things. You should feel either a tingling sensation, a floating sensation, a sinking sensation, or nothing. People that feel nothing are usually elderly, they've had a lot of stress, they probably have a lot of tight muscles. I'll give you an example. I had a gal that was 30 years old and the Qi machine stopped and I waited 2 minutes. I said, did you feel anything? She said, all I felt was tingling in my fingers. And I said, have you ever been to a massage therapist? She said, no. I said, have you ever been to a chiropractor? She said, no. I said, do you have a lot of stress in your life? She goes, well, I've got 4 kids under the age of 6. So she was blocked up and the energy was not flowing through. Her head barely wiggled. But here's the good news. She started using the Qi machine, and after about 2 weeks of using the Qi machine, she felt tingling going from her feet up to her knees. 3 weeks, it went about to her waist. It took 6 weeks, and she was able to get the energy to go all the way through her body. So if you start off in the Chi machine and you don't feel it right away, it's okay. Like I said, if you've had a lot of stress, a lot of tight muscles, a lot of injuries, you may not feel it all the way through. So you'll feel one of those 4 things. Again, wait 2 minutes. After the Chi machine stops, do not move. And if you do get up, what will happen is you'll almost be like a drunken sailor. So, I mean, I did that one time. The Chi machine stopped and I got up and I answered the phone and I'm like, hello. So do not do that. Then after it stops, you wait 2 minutes. You can do 3 exercises. The first exercise that people do is bring their knees up to their chest. You can grab your knees with your arms, pull them close to your chest. That stretches the spine this way. The second exercise we have people do is put your hands flat out on the floor and palms down. And if you're flexible enough, then you can rotate your knees all the way to the right and then all the way to the left. And you do that about 2 or 3 times. And again, if you're not very flexible, we don't want you to do that complete stretch the first time. If you're not very flexible and you're elderly, we want you to keep your feet flat on the floor and just rotate just a little bit one way and maybe just a little bit the other way. Okay? We'd rather have you understretch than overstretch. The third position is you put like your left leg flat down the floor. And again, only do this if you're very flexible. Bring your knee up, take your left hand and your right knee and look that way and pull this way. And then again, if you can do that all the way, wonderful. You do that once and then put your other foot down and then bring the other knee up and then pull just the opposite way and look this way. And what that'll do is it'll really give a nice twist to your spine too. And I actually have had my back kind of snap when I do that to give me an adjustment. And then you can roll over and slowly get up. And then it's very important to drink some more water after the machine. And the purpose of the water is it helps detoxify the body, number 1, and it helps hydrate the body, and energy flows much better through the body with hydration. Some people are not able to lay down on the floor, so when you can't get somebody that cannot lay on the floor or that has trouble even going into bed, we can let them sit in a chair and put their feet in the Chi machine. And this is how that works. So basically, you sit in a higher chair so that your knees and legs are straight, almost like an L shape. In fact, I'll move back just a bit. There you go. And you can see that you get the wiggle motion going from the feet all the way up to the waist. So that's one way of doing it. Again, only if they can't lay down on the floor or they're elderly. Another way of doing it is you can put their hands in it. So I'm going to pretend that I'm a kitchen table. And we're going to go ahead and start up again. And then Pam's going to put her wrists in here. And you can see how you get the wiggle motion now going from the wrists all the way down to about almost the waist. And you can do that a couple of ways. You can actually have them like that, or you can turn your wrists down like that, or you can turn your wrists up. Or you can also even put them farther into it too. And every one of these is going to work different muscles in the body. All right? Now, what happened was I had a gentleman with Parkinson's, and he was not able to get down on the floor. And when I met him, he couldn't walk very well. He couldn't speak very well. His arm, he showed me, he could not raise it above his, he was standing and he could not raise it higher than this. And his fingers were clenched like a claw. And he literally, his wife had to pry his fingers open, put a glass in his hands, close his fingers, put a straw in his cup, and then he was able to take a drink. So we couldn't do the floor. I tried the bed. His wife was too weak to even put him properly in the bed, and I tried to get him in the bed properly, and it still wasn't real good. So we had him sit in a chair just like this, put his feet in the Chi machine for 5 minutes, and then I had him put the Chi machine on a kitchen table and put his arms in there just like this and got the wiggle motion going through for 5 minutes. And he used the Chi machine for 14 days. And 14 days later, I came back there, and he met me at the door. His speech was better. His walking was better. He raised his arm above his head, and he was opening and closing his fingers just as fast as I'm doing right here. Needless to say, he was very pleased with the Chi machine. So again, anytime you got somebody, or if somebody's in a wheelchair and they can't get on the floor, they can just kick the pads out from the wheelchair, put their feet in the Chi machine. So any of those kind of things are possible. There's also a third way to use the Chi machine. I'm going to have you step down for a second. Sometimes we have people, as they get older, let's leave the chair right there, they get that extra skin hanging underneath their arm. So what you can do is you can put the Chi machine at the kitchen table again, and you can sit in a chair and put one arm in there like this. I'll demonstrate that. And you start, of course the kitchen table is going to be firmer, but you start to get that arm going back and forth, and it starts to tighten up that skin there, and then you turn around and do the other arm the other way. And we've had, within about 30 days, that skin underneath the arm has been tightened up. So there's all different kind of ways to use the Chi machine. We just want to demonstrate all the different ways to use it. I'd like to talk about now is the fake machines. There are some fake machines in the market, and we tell people to be really cautious against those things. They have messed people up. There was one selling on Home Shopping Network for $99. They had a 48% return rate because of it messing people up. So I happen to get my hands on a fake machine here today, and I'm going to actually demonstrate the difference between the real Chi machine and the fake Chi machine. If you don't have the real Chi machine, it doesn't say Sun Ancon. So the real Chi machine always says Sun Ancon on it, and it actually puts a figure-8 motion through the body. It has one speed, compatible for both men, women, ages 3 to 103. The fake machines, this is an example of a fake machine, and we're going to demonstrate how they can actually weaken you and mess you up. So I've asked a person here today, his name is Jordan. He's never actually seen these machines before. He's actually part of the filming crew. Jordan, if you could come over here, and I'd like to have you just lay down on the floor once, and don't even put your feet in anything yet. Just have you lay down on the floor, and just put, I'm going to do what we call a kinesiology muscle test. So if you could just lay flat on the floor, and then which arm is your strongest arm, Jordan? Your right arm? Okay, put your arm straight up, and I want you to resist, and I'm going to try to pull down, okay? All right, go ahead and resist. Okay, I could not pull down. Jordan's very strong. Now I want to give Jordan a session for only just a few seconds in this machine right here. So if Jordan, if you want to put your feet up, and let's see, are your ankles comfortable in there? Mm-hmm. Okay, this is one of the machines that's what we call the fake machines, and it's got all kinds of extra bells and whistles here. So I need to set the timer. It's got a high, a medium, and a low on this one. And I'm going to do the medium because that one seems to be the closest to our machine. The high is faster than ours, the low is slower than ours. So we'll do a medium here. And we'll give you 10 seconds, Jordan, on this machine to see if it makes a difference for you. Okay. And that is about 10 seconds there. We'll stop it. Okay, now if you could put your arm up again, Jordan. I want you to resist. Okay, what happened was all the fake machines weaken people. And I tell people, if you've ever seen a fake machine, or if you know somebody that's got one, you can do that same test. Now, Jordan, I'll have you slide over and go on the other Chi machine, which is the real one. And we'll do the same thing. We'll just have you go on it for about 10 seconds. And we don't need that. We'll start it up here. And we'll give you 10 seconds. Okay. Now if you want to put your arm up again, Jason, or Jordan, and I'm going to pull down. You can see the difference, and I was pulling as hard as I could. The real Chi machine strengthens your body, puts a complete figure-8 pattern through the body, balances all the way through to the head. It actually balances the left and right brain patterns too. The fake machines, I don't care which one it is out there on the market, they mess people up, they've caused back injuries. I tell people, if you've got a fake machine, try ours and you'll see the difference. now I think I'll go into talking about the hot house or fur dome. And the hot house produces far infrared energy, which is part of the sunlight spectrum. And for those of you that are not familiar with far infrared, if you're outside on a nice sunny day and you're standing there and you just feel that sun coming at you, you can feel the warmth penetrating your body. Well, all of a sudden a cloud comes by and you get cold. You ever feel that? It's like, whew. Well, the air temperature didn't change. What happened? Part of the sunlight spectrum stopped coming through and you got cold. So our hot house produces far infrared energy that penetrates the body up to 1.5 inches in at full strength. Beyond that, it's a little bit weaker, but it still penetrates even deeper than that. So we tell people the hot house will do 3 things. It's going to expand your capillaries, increase circulation, and help cells regenerate. Now, if you have any idea what I just said there, it's huge. Cells regenerate. That's huge. So here's what I've noticed on the hot house. If you use the hot house, I use it for people with pain, swelling, inflammation, allergies, asthma, sinus conditions, eczema, acne, infections, all those things I use it for, and within 15 minutes to 1 hour session, they'll notice either a difference or a total improvement or completely gone. And again, everybody's different, so I don't know how fast it's going to work for you, but I would definitely try it if you have any of those problems to see what happens. I'd like to share with you in this large testimony book I've got here about far infrared. In fact, when I first heard about this technology, I said, you know what, I don't want a hot house. I don't need a hot house. They're too expensive. Why should I get one? I remember it was about the 6th week in this business, well, the 5th or 6th week, I was reading in this testimonial book in here, and I had gone to the back part of the section on testimonies, and it showed clinical treatments with the fur dome. And these were clinical studies that have been done with the fur dome or hot house. And what happened was, they said that they had, of 150 patients given clinical treatments for sciatica and rheumatism and stiffness in the shoulder and aches and pains and arthritis and bedwetting and frostbite and headaches and inflammation, 70% experienced improvement or complete relief. And I thought, wow, that's powerful. And then I read a little bit more. It actually almost sounded too good to be true. This was farther back, and it was in regards to cancer. It says, the cancerous cell has a weakness in its resistance against heat. It will die if the temperature goes above 42 degrees Celsius. The fur dome has its own heat source, which is penetrating and can transmit its heat to the depth of the human body. Then it says, in the Orient, the fur is the #1 way to fight cancer. Here, they're referring to the United States, here we use chemotherapy and radiation. There they've just reversed it. Here people don't usually use the fur until they've exhausted all the resources. It's unfortunate that that's true, but then I read in here about asthma. It says here, a person came into his office with pneumonia, and with therapy through lymphology and the fur dome, the malady was gone. The malady was gone in 15 minutes. And I said, oh my gosh, that sounds too good to be true. I closed that book, and I called. The next day I called my mom, because I didn't own a hot house yet. And I said, Mom, I said, what do you think of your hot house? She goes, I love it. I said, why? She goes, well, she was a beautician at the time, and she would stand, her feet would be sore, her legs would be sore, and her arms would be sore from working all day on women's hair, and she would use the hot house every night before she went to bed, and she'd sleep all night long without pain. And I said, could I borrow that hot house, because I want to demo it on some people and see if it helps. And she says, as long as you have it back by 8 o'clock at night. I said, not a problem. And so anyway, I brought the hot house over to my house, and that day I had 4 people come over, and 3 women and 1 gentleman. And the first 3, I said, the 3 women, I said, does anybody have allergies? And the first lady said, Jeff, I'm so plugged up I can't breathe. And she sounded like that, just like a little pig. I mean, she was that plugged up, she couldn't breathe. And I said, would you do me a favor and test this hot house over your face? She said, sure. So we put the hot house over her face. Again, we put the moistened cotton balls, moistened Kleenexes over the eyes to keep the eyes closed. And after 15 minutes, we pulled the hot house over her face, and she goes, I can breathe. I almost fell over. I couldn't believe how fast it worked. The second gal was all plugged up, just like the first gal. Couldn't breathe through her nose. She sounded, same thing, couldn't breathe at all. And she had bags underneath her eyes. Her face was swollen from the allergies. And I said, do you want to try? And she says, yes. So she laid down, put it over her face for 15 minutes, pulled it off her face, and she goes, I can breathe. How does my face look? And I said, well, I don't know. I really can't tell if there's any difference. So I said, why don't you go in the bathroom and look and see if you can tell if there's any difference. So she walks in the bathroom, comes back, and she goes, Jeff, I think it's a little bit better. Can I use it more? And I said, I don't know. I mean, this is the first time I've ever had the thing. So I'm flipping through this book, and I find where it says you can use the hot house for like 1 to 2 hours a day. So I told her that. So we put her back down on the floor, put the hot house back over her face, again, the moistened cotton balls, Kleenexes, and gave her 30 minutes more, pulled it off her face. It looked like she had a facelift. All the swelling was gone. The bags underneath her eyes were gone. She couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, oh my gosh, maybe this stuff is true. So then the third gal, she had a backache. And we put the hot house over the small of her back. Within 15 minutes of that, the backache was gone. The fourth one was a gentleman. He says, Jeff, I don't have any problems. Anyway, I got through demoing all these machines. The ladies all left. The guy says to me, he says, Jeff, if I went to see this with my own eyes, I never would have believed it. And he went home. He already owned a Chi machine, so he bought a second Chi machine. He bought his first hot house. He called me 3 weeks later and he said, Jeff, he said, I want to tell you what happened. He says, I bought the hot house and the extra Chi. I went to my father-in-law's house and I spent 3 days with him, working him with the Chi machine in the hot house. We canceled his wheelchair order. And ever since then, I started demoing the Chi machine and the hot house together. We're getting fabulous results. I'll give you another example. I met a guy that through one of my other businesses I've got, and he was about 70 years old at the time, up in Elk River. Was Jane Walter's father. And when I met him, he had lost his right leg up to his waist because of diabetes. And on his left foot, his second toe was oozing pus. And he showed this to me. And it looked bad. And he said, Jeff, he says, the doctor has scheduled me to have that toe cut off. He said, I'm not going to the doctor. I said, why not? He says, because that's how the right foot started. First it was the toe, then it was the ankle, then it was the knee. It wouldn't heal, wouldn't heal, wouldn't heal. Then it was the waist. He says, if I lose both legs, I'd rather be dead. I said, all right, well, I got some equipment that may help you. I can't make any promises, but let's give it a try. We put him in bed with the Chi machine. We put a piece of plywood underneath the Chi machine. We put the one leg in the Chi machine, and we put the hot house over the foot with the oozing pus. Make sure he took off the socks so we get maximum penetration, kept it as close to the hot house as possible. And here's what happened. I didn't know this until later, but 3 weeks into it, it actually got worse because I didn't hear about this until like 6, 7 weeks later, but Jane Walters got scared. She said that the toe got worse. It started turning red. More pus was oozing out. She called a nurse friend of hers and told her what I was doing, and the nurse friend said, keep it up. It's healing from the inside out. They kept it up, and 6 weeks later, that toe was totally healed. Now, it's just unfortunate I wasn't able to meet him before he lost his right leg. So do you know anybody with diabetes that has an open sore or a wound that won't heal? I'm telling you, these machines are incredible. Another guy named David Greer, he had an opening sore this big on his leg, and the doctors had scheduled to cut his leg off. And he said he's not going to do it. He's right here in Minneapolis, and he decided to put his life in order. And he said he gave his life up to the Lord, and he was getting ready to basically get his life in order and pass on because he wasn't going to have his leg cut off. A friend of his introduced the Chi machine to him through his wife. He wouldn't go on the Chi machine at first. His wife said, you're going on that thing. He went on that Chi machine. Within a week of using the Chi machine, it started scabbing over and it started itching because he got some feeling back. It took many months, but he totally got that sore to heal. He had been to all the doctors, the Mayo Clinic specialists, and nothing would heal. But he's alive and well today, and he saved his leg. Again, do you know anybody that's got diabetes that could be helped? Absolute godsend to him. This is called The Healing Power of Far Infrared. It's a newspaper, and there's a couple of doctors that have written information here, but this is Dr. Brous, Dr. Richard Brous, and he's a chiropractic physician, biochemist, certified clinical nutritionist, teacher, author, and lecturer on health preservation and disease prevention. And he says, far infrared can help ease the pain and symptoms of problems such as arthritis, cancer, allergies, asthma, stress, injuries, diabetes, muscle fatigue, and poor circulation. Kind of all the things I just mentioned that we've had results with. And it says, we've even used it for people recovering from cancer surgery. In almost every instance, it seems to reduce pain and speed the healing process. Then Dr. Lipton, who's also in this paper, he talks about some of the benefits of the far infrared dome. The far infrared dome raises body temperature, which has many benefits. It promotes the killing of many pathogenic diseases causing bacteria, viruses, fungi, and parasites. The far infrared dome helps athletes recover faster from athletic trauma. It promotes rebuilding of injured tissue by having a positive effect on the fibroblasts. The far infrared dome detoxifies the environmentally ill patient. Far infrared brings about significant detoxification of heavy metals, including mercury and other environmental pollutants. So again, the far infrared is absolutely phenomenal for many, many things. In fact, I want to read just a couple of shorter testimonies on the far infrared hothouse. This one comes from Pam Connick in Los Angeles, California. It says, here's my testimony using the hothouse with a yeast infection. Once a year I get a yeast infection. I felt the familiar symptoms of itching and burning, so I went under the hothouse for 2 hours while I slept. The next day the itching was reduced. I did the same thing that night, and the next day all the symptoms disappeared. Pam Connick, Los Angeles, California. Here's another one from Katie Woolman, who's up in Canada. For the past 4 years, I have been a diabetic, taking pills for my diabetes on a daily basis. Then I was introduced to the Qi machine in the hothouse. A couple of weeks after started using the Qi machine, I had an appointment with the health nurse. The nurse told me that I had too many lows on my daily monitoring chart. She recommended I stop taking my pills for 1 week and monitor the results. If I were to have any problems, I should call and make an appointment. It has been nearly 7 months, and I still haven't made the call. For years, I had been watching what I ate. My husband and I eat quite healthily, and yet I have been unable to lose weight. After the Qi machine and hothouse came into my life, I have lost over 30 pounds, and I feel great. I have more energy than I have had in years. This is my testimony of how the Qi machine and hothouse have turned my life around. I have stopped taking my pills, lost a lot of weight, and I feel more alive. This has made a dramatic improvement in my life. Katie Woolman. Again, the machines are phenomenal. All you got to do is use them. I wanted to read the precautions that the company states on the hothouse. Now, on the new hothouses, there's a warning on the side of the hothouse saying, do not use over your face. Now, again, we've already talked about that. We've used it over the face. Many times we just keep the eyes closed. We use the moistened cotton balls or Kleenexes. In other countries, they haven't stopped using it over their face. It's one of those things that the company was told they had to put on the hothouse. So I tell you, you use it how you want to use it. Also, the warnings. It says this device should not be used if you have any acute diseases, open sores, a serious heart condition, are using a pacemaker, or have serious high blood pressure. Now, if I were to have followed the company's precautions that they state here, I wouldn't have been able to save that guy's toe that had that open sore. I wouldn't able to use it on people with diseases like fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, cancer, MS, all those things. I consider diabetes and all those things acute diseases. So again, the company has their warnings, but you're in charge of your life to do as you see is most going to benefit you. Now, what I recommend is that if somebody does have a pacemaker, they definitely don't use it over the pacemaker. You could use it over your head, over your legs, over your arms, but don't use it over the pacemaker unless you've got your doctor's approval. And we've had a couple of people that have taken the information to their doctor, and the doctor said that that was okay. But again, I would be cautious on that. We've had a few reports now with people saying they're using it and they've got cancer. And I want to just state this. This was a gal, came to our meeting about 6 months ago, and she had been diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. The doctors sent her home. They said there's nothing they could do. She used the hothouse over her cancer area. I tell people, wherever the problem is, use it over that area. She used it for 68 hours consecutively. She kept turning it on after every hour, kept turning it on. She took it to bed with her. She laid underneath it. She slept underneath it. She ate underneath it. The only time she got up was to go get some food or go to the bathroom or do some laundry. So she stuck with it almost 68 hours. She went back to the doctor and they retested her after she used it for almost 3 days, and they diagnosed her as stage 1 cancer after almost 3 days. Then the doctor said, "We can now treat you." And she said, "I'm out of here," and she left. I met a gal up in Canada who was diagnosed with stomach cancer. It was the size of a grapefruit. And in fact, no, I didn't meet her personally. The gal that worked with her shared the story. She said it was diagnosed the size of a grapefruit, stomach cancer. She didn't own a hothouse, but this friend of ours borrowed her the hothouse over a weekend, Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday. Used it all weekend, went back to work for a week, borrowed it again, Friday night, Saturday, Sunday, used it the whole weekend, went back to a doctor and got diagnosed. It was then the size of a golf ball. My father borrowed the hothouse to a friend of his up in Foley, Minnesota. The guy had some kind of a growth about the size of a tennis ball on his side. We don't know what it was. He did not go to the doctor. He used the hothouse for 1 week straight, 1 to 2 hours a day, and it disappeared. To this day, we don't know what it was. To this day, he doesn't care. It's gone. He feels good, and he bought a hothouse, and he uses it once or twice a week just to maintain his health. So I tell people, use the hothouse. Now with the hothouse, more is usually better, and you should drink twice as much water with the hothouse as you do with the Chi machine. The Chi machine, we recommend 4 ounces before the Chi and about 8 ounces afterwards. And I said water. I did not say alcohol. I did not say pop. I did not say coffee or tea. Water. With the hothouse, because it tends to create that heat internally and work internally, it's going to make you more thirsty, and that'll help flush out more toxins. So again, twice the amount of water. And if you're going to be using it for long periods of time, the company only recommends 1 or 2 hours a day. But again, people are using it at their own discretion for many, many hours, you know, if they've got a severe problem. If I had a severe problem like that, I would also use it that long. But drink water, a lot of water. Now, also sometimes what can happen is when you're using the hothouse, if you've got a pain, it may get worse. We've had some people where it got so bad they almost had to scream, but they stuck with it, and after about 15, 20 minutes, the pain went away and it was totally gone. Now, it was hurting to begin with, but it actually got worse before it got better. So if that ever happens to you, I just want you to know it could get worse before it gets better. So that's pretty much everything in the hothouse, and I hope you share these machines with anybody that has any of the problems we've listed today. Now we're going to demonstrate the proper use of the hothouse or far infrared or fur dome, different names that people use. There's a button on here. You turn it on like that and it makes a signal. It goes beep, 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 and it goes all the way up to an hour, but it's not actually on until you press the on button there. Now it's going to go for 15 minutes. You press it again, it'll be on for 30. Press it again, 45, again for 60. So you can go for up to a 1 hour session without having to restart it. And now, Pam, if you come over here and we'll demonstrate how to use this. So you can actually just lay on the floor. It's got little wheels on it, and you can just bring it over any part of your body that you want to. If you've got knee problems, put over the knees. If you've got waist problems, put over the waist. If you've got chest problems or stomach problems, put over that. If you want to use it over your head, we always recommend a moistened paper towel or a moistened Kleenex, and you just put that over your eyes, and then you can go ahead and put it over your head. So anytime you use this machine over your head, you always want to keep your eyes closed, and if you're going to be underneath there for a longer period of time, we recommend, like I said, the moistened Kleenexes, moistened cotton balls, or something good and moist. So again, this rolls up and down your entire body. All you're going to feel with this is slight warmth going in. It's creating what we call the far infrared. If a person wants to lay on their side, I'm going to have you turn your side, Pam, maybe face that way, then you wouldn't have enough room. So the company has 2 extenders that are included with this. You can use an extender like this, and then you can go on your side so that it keeps you from touching the surface with that. We also have a second extender, but in this case, you really wouldn't need it, but you could use it. I tell people, don't use the extenders unless you need them, because you want to be, the closer you are to the far infrared heating session, the better. It's going to penetrate better. If you only need, say like a half of an extender, you could actually tip it on its side like that, and then bring it down. You'd only use a half of one. Another way to use this machine is you can tip it on its side. It comes with a couple of armrests that actually just snap on, so you can get yourself inside of it and get comfortable, and you could sit there and read. You could watch TV, do whatever you want. Now it's going to cover your lower back and give you a session from your lower back down to your buttocks. And again, it's very nice and warm. All the machines now come with white safety grid in here, so that you can actually lean up against it with your clothes on, and it's not even a problem. The old ones didn't have that. You can actually order them without it if you want to, but we're telling people to probably keep that safety grid in there, because sometimes they take it to bed with them, and if you fall asleep, this will be good because it won't get too hot for you. The Chi machine and the hot house can be used together, and you actually get much better results if they're used together with the Chi machine and the hot house at the same time. If you really want to experience something absolutely wild, try using 3 hot houses and a Chi machine at the same time. It'll be like dying and going to heaven. The last machine is the Electroreflex Energizer, and that machine sends electrical impulses through the bottoms of the feet into your body. And what I equate it to is kind of like reflexology. I used to be a reflexologist, and I also used to be a massage therapist. And by pressing on certain parts of the feet, that relates to different organs in the body. In fact, I have a chart here that I can show you that shows the different organs in the body and how they're related to the feet. So like if somebody is pressing on your big toe, that's related to your brain and your head area. If they're pressing on the middle part here, that's related to like your lung and your breast. Or you get a little bit lower, that's the solar plexus. A little bit lower than that, that's the liver. And then it comes into the colon and intestines and things like that, and kidneys. So again, all the organs in your body are related to your feet. Also, there's hand charts. All the organs in your body are related to your hands. There's also things called iridology, which all the organs in your body are related to your ears. And there's iridology, which means all the organs in your body are related to your eyes. Now, if people have ever had acupuncture and they do it on the ears, that's how they do. They work on the ears. Or if you do reflexology, you massage the feet, or handology, you actually work on the hands. So by putting your feet on the Electroreflex, it sends electrical stimulation through the bottoms of the feet, which not only helps open up the energy pathways in the body, it can help all the different organs in the body, as we saw in that chart. So I'll give you an example. When I first got it, I played with it and I turned it up as high as I could, and my feet were literally jumping off there. Now I tell people, don't turn it up all the way, especially in the beginning, because it's kind of shocking. It's almost like touching an electric fence, and you wouldn't want to do that. So gradually turn the dial up and you'll start to feel the pulsation going through your feet. So what's it good for? If people have neuropathy, which is, neuropathy, if you don't know what that is, it's like you have no feeling in the feet. I took a gentleman with neuropathy, we put him on the Electroreflex, and after 20 minutes, he had that thing cranked all the way up. Now, if I had it cranked all the way up, it would actually almost, you'd have to pull me off the ceilings. I've only cranked up for a few seconds, and I had to turn it back down, but he cranked up all the way, and he said, this feels good. And after 20 minutes, he said, Jeff, he said, I think I can feel the carpeting for the first time in years. So neuropathy is one thing. Also, if you know anybody that's got plantar fasciitis, it's extreme pain in the feet. I brought my Electroreflex over to a guy with plantar fasciitis, and I borrowed it to him for a week, and when I went back to get it, he said, I want one. I said, okay, I'll order you one. He says, no, I want this one. I said, well, that's a used one. He says, I don't care. You're not taking it. Anyway, he bought my used one because he used it twice a day, and the pain was pretty much gone throughout the whole day. So anybody with plantar fasciitis or the neuropathy, awesome. If you have sore feet, awesome. If you have carpal tunnel in the hands, you can put your hands on there. It'll get rid of the pain in the hands within usually 15 minutes for most people. For parasites, we've been told that by Connie Stoner, she's a certified massage therapist, she recommends mode 1 for parasites. Now everybody's got parasites if you eat meat. If you eat any kind of meat, there's some kind of parasite in your body. Now some people have an overabundance of them, which can make you sick. A low amount you might not even hardly notice. But her son had parasites. She used the Electroreflex on him, and after about the 3rd or 4th day, he said, Mommy, come look in the bathroom, and he had passed worms in his stool. And the second day he passed another kind of worm in his stool. I got a friend that's got a cat. She's got an indoor cat and an outdoor cat, and she'd be using the electric reflex every day. Well, the outdoor cat would jump on her lap while she's using the electric reflex. The indoor cat wouldn't. And after the third day of the cat sitting on her lap while she's using the electric reflex, she went out to the garage and she noticed in the cat's litter box it had passed about a 2.5 to 3 inch worm out of the stool. So we know it's great for parasites. Connie says if you use the electric reflex for 11 days, twice a day, preferably mode 1, you'll probably eradicate most or almost all the parasites in your body. In fact, we had a testimony here from a gal. Her name is Lori Dahl from St. Cloud, Minnesota, and she wrote to us about the electric reflex. It says, the electric reflex has worked wonders for my 7-year-old daughter, Ashlyn. I have always taken my family to a reflexologist for all well-being ever since Ashlyn was born. The ever-present parasites have always been a problem. Unfortunately, Ashlyn's stomach has been too weak to fight them off like most people can, and her parasites have always developed into tapeworms. These tapeworms would cause sharp stomach pains, and Ashlyn would lose interest in eating so much that people started to think she was malnourished. I received the Energizer for Christmas, and Ashlyn was the first person to use it. Only 5 or 10 minutes a week she used it, and we were shocked at our next visit to the reflexologist. We had no idea what she had been using, but his first comment as he checked her out was a shocked statement. In the 7 years I've been seeing you and your family, this is the first time there's not a single parasite in any of you. In fact, this is our first time that Ashlyn has not had a tapeworm. I was elated. I had immediately noticed the difference myself. For the first time, Ashlyn was eating well, even second helpings at mealtime. A first for her. She has grown 2 inches in the last 7 months, and the change in her is unbelievable. Knowing what parasites do to a person's body, I can say we'll always use the Energizer just 5 to 10 minutes a week to keep ourselves healthy. Lori Dahl, St. Cloud, Minnesota. So again, that little electro reflex machine can do a lot for you. If you have any kind of pain anywhere in the body and you want to really break it up fast, just put the pads on anywhere in the body and it'll break up pain rather quickly. I need to read the warning the company has for the Electro Reflex Energizer. It says, warning, this device should not be used if you have or use any electronic medical instruments such as an implanted heartbeat regulators, artificial hearts or lungs, or implanted pacemakers. Persons who are pregnant, nursing a baby, have any medical condition, or are taking any prescription drugs should consult with their doctors before using. So that's the company's recommendation, and definitely if you've got any kind of implanted heart regulators or any implanted organs, I would definitely say do not use that machine. So if you know anybody with carpal tunnel, plantar fasciitis, or neuropathy, or pain in different parts of their body, see if you can let them experience the electro reflex and then see what it'll do for them. Now we're going to demonstrate the proper use of the Advanced Electro Reflex Energizer. First of all, you cannot have any socks on or any nylons on. If you do, it will not work properly. And you want to have bare feet or moistened paper towels. So if you do just bare feet, you just put your feet on there just like that. If you're going to use the moistened paper towels, we use the half-size ones here and just spray them real good so that they're moist, just so they're not dripping. And then you put one on each side here. And again, just you don't want them dripping wet, and you will not electrocute yourself or anything with this. It's fine, just get them good and wet. And the reason for the moist paper towels is it does two things. It actually produces better conductivity on the machine, and if you have multiple people using the machine, then it's very sanitary. Each person gets their own moist paper towels. Now the machine also comes with a belt. The purpose of the belt is to keep the legs straight. You don't want the legs pushed together. You don't want them far apart. You want them basically straight. So if you put the belt on, you just wrap it around and set it for the size of the person, and then they spread out, and then you got your feet straight. It also comes with a remote control that you can set everything with the remote control, or you can press the buttons on the machine. Now we'll show you the exact way to use the Advanced Electro-Reflex Energizer. First you turn it on and all the lights come on, then it gives you the beep signal. You have to select the function, which is either going to be combination of foot only, pad only, or the feet and the pad together. That's the nice thing about this one, you can actually use the feet and the pads together. Then the mode section is either going to be pounding mode, relaxing mode, massaging mode, or the automatic mode goes through all three, pounding, relaxing, massaging, just cycles through that. And I always start people off usually with the pounding mode. And then you set the time, and you can either go 5 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, or up to an hour. We usually start new people off at around 15 minutes. And then the intensity for how much you feel is the arrow button to the right. Every time you press that twice, it'll give you 1 light. Twice again, it'll give you 2 lights. And you may have to press this 5, 6, 8, 9, 10 times till you feel the intensity of the reflexology treatment coming through your feet. Do you feel that right now? Mm-hmm. Okay, so is that comfortable for you?
Yeah, that's comfortable.
Okay, so again, and then it also comes with the a little control, foot control, that you can do this remotely from while you're sitting there. You just point it at the machine and you can arrow up, which gives it more intensity, or arrow down, or change the time up to 30 minutes, or change the mode or the functions also. So that way you don't have to bend down and actually press the buttons. And then the pads that you can use at the same time, we're going to switch and do the pad part here. So we'll go to pad. We'll actually go to foot and pad. So right now we're going to be able to do the feet and the pads simultaneously. The pads, when you get them, have a plastic covering over them. You have to peel the plastic covering off, and then the pads are sticky, so they'll stick to your skin. And then you don't have to put the plastic covering back on. You can just put it on this plastic piece that comes with it. You have 3 sets of pads, and basically you plug it in on the left hand side of the machine. There's 3 different spots to plug the pads in, and then we will demonstrate next how to put these on the body and in the different placements on the body. And this is how you use the pads. First of all, you have to have the ERE going with the machine running and high enough so that the energy is coming through, and then you can just press the pad button only and use just the pads. And you can put the pads anywhere on the neck, on the shoulders, or in between the shoulders like this. And then there's a control on here to feel it. So right now you can't feel until I start to bring this up. And do you feel that now?
Not yet.
Not yet? Okay, we need to increase this one just a bit. Now you feel it, right?
Yeah.
I can see the muscles jumping now. And so again, if you don't feel it, keep pressing the buttons until you do feel it. And is that too much for you? Is that okay?
It's okay.
All right. And everybody has their own tolerance level of how much they'd like. So basically you can put the pads anywhere on the body. We've got 3 sets of pads. You could put one set on the neck, 1 set on the shoulders, and 1 set lower if you want, or like that, or anywhere on the body except over the heart. And if you've got say you've got a bad elbow, then you'd want to take and put 1 set below the elbow, or 1 pad below the elbow, and 1 pad above the elbow, and that'll get the energy flowing in between the pads. And we've had pain go away in like 15 minutes by doing this, because it gets the energy going. Think of it as Chinese acupuncture, where they get everything going. This will get everything going. Or if you've got a bad knee, you could put 1 above the knee and 1 below the knee, and get everything going that way too. So basically they can be used anywhere on the body. Now these pads will eventually get less sticky. The more you use them, the more they pick up oils from your skin, and the more they pick up you know, little hairs and things like that. So what I tell people to do is, after they get unsticky, take a little bit of dish soap and a little bit of water, just a drop or two of dish soap and water, and just rub it on here, and then rinse it, and then let it air dry, and the stickiness will come back again. And you can do that multiple times until eventually you will have to replace the pads, but you'll get lots and lots of uses out of these pads. We've got 3 different modes. We've got, again, we've got the pounding mode, the relaxing mode, the massaging mode, and the automatic mode. So it's really 3 plus 1, which is automatic. Now each mode does different things. So as an example, mode 1 stimulates the set of muscles in the bottom of the feet, central region of the feet, as well as the inner set of muscles on the calves. Mode 2 stimulates the muscles on top of the feet, in their outer calf, and in the ankles. And mode 3 sends a pattern of impulses combining pounding, pins and needles, and squeezing like a stretch after an exercise to fully relax muscles upon completion of the therapy. Then people that have carpal tunnel problem with their hands, you can just put the machine on your lap like this, put your hands on here, set it so it's got a comfortable level so you can feel it, and it'll be going all the way up your hands into your wrists. And you could also use the hands and the pads at the same time. So you could put pads on your shoulders while you're doing the hands, or again, the feet and the pads can be used simultaneously. We've had good results with carpal tunnel. Within about 15 minutes, the pain has been gone by putting the hands on here just like this. So I hope you enjoy using your new Advanced Electroreflex Energizer. You have nothing to lose except your problems. In fact, when I first took a look at this business, I didn't want to have anything to do with it, but it actually turned into a business for me. So now we have thousands of people out there earning part-time and full-time income with these machines. Synthen has over a 15-year track record. They guarantee their products with a 2-week money-back guarantee. They believe in their products so much that they'll let you put it on a credit card, they'll ship it to your house, and you have 14 days after you receive the products to use them. If you're not 100% satisfied, you can return them to the company. I hope you get a chance to enjoy all 3 machines, see what they can do for you. It's been said that the quality of your life will be determined more by your health than your wealth. By choosing to use our machines, you're choosing to be healthier.